Cyber briefing for Thursday, the 4th of May. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Amazon has released Amazon Inspector, which is a little bit of good news. Amazon Inspector allows the search of vulnerability intelligence across your AWS estate or your Amazon components. So once activated, Amazon Inspector automatically detects all of your Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud EC2 instances, containers, your AWS Lambda functions, and so on and so forth. And then basically scans them for vulnerabilities as known from the Common Vulnerability Enumeration, CVE database. So managing cloud vulnerabilities has, I think, been quite challenging for a lot of organizations. You can treat some stuff as if it were more traditional. So if you're running, a large amount of EC2 instances, yes, you can scan them and manage their vulnerabilities in the normal way. But to have a tool which comprehensively will look across all the things that you're running in your Amazon environments and give you visibility of the vulnerabilities, I think is a really good idea. So yeah, good on them. I think that helps well, who doesn't have stuff in the cloud these days? Hopefully other cloud vendors will be doing something similar. If they are already, I'm not aware of it, but I'll probably go a little bit of a dig and see what I could find. But if you're not making use of this function, I think it would be a good idea to consider it. So Google has stepped into the discussion around how to move to a post-password world. So they are aiming to help take us into a passwordless future. And one of the ways that they are considering that is by focusing more on passkeys. So passkeys are kind of like a physical token that you use to authenticate yourself. So in the same sort of arena as some sorts of MFA or biometrics or whatever, you can use passkeys to replace at least part of the something something you've got type stuff. So you can, for example, it would work by if you had a phone with a biometric KeyPass app. That then is the thing that you have, and the thing that you are in this case is your fingerprint. Now, passkeys are increasingly they have been supported one way or another for a long time in lots of situations, but have been clunky in my experience. The one that I've used in the past was YubiKey, and yeah, I could get it to work for authentication on Linux, Mac, various various website applications, websites will use it. So if I remember rightly, Facebook, for example, has got YubiKey integration, but it's pretty clunky. And I found in the past that it didn't eliminate enough of the password side of things for it to really justify the faffing about. Hopefully, this new focus on pass keys is going to result in on the application and OS side better integration, make this stuff somewhat easier to use. You could say, well, what's wrong with MFA? Well, MFA is fine. Some sorts of MFA are not great. SMS-based, text-based MFA is subject to SIM swapping scams, which remain remarkably easy to execute if you are that way inclined. You can use password managers, argument being you've then put all your eggs in one basket, and yeah, okay, that there is some truth in that, but I think the other side of that would be that if you are trying to manage hundreds, as most of us are these days, hundreds of passwords without a password manager, you are probably going to be reusing passwords and end up in a mess anyway. So I think that it's good that there is a movement towards, taking passkeys more seriously. I don't think we're going to see things like MFA go away quickly. I don't think passwords are going to go away in any time in the near future. But as we've seen, if you look back a few years, MFA was considered so geeky and difficult that no normal human would ever want to use it. And it's now, I think, considered pretty much de facto. Anybody can use it successfully. So it's no big deal. I think we will just the technology will move on. We'll get these things will get better, and they will increasingly find themselves being used, and it gets to a critical mass, and then people just accept it. So, final thing from me today is looking back at the NotPetya attack against Merck. There has been a long-going lawsuit between Merck and their insurers around a potential $1.4 billion payout to recover from the effects of NotPetya. So Merck's insurers have used the act of war clause to deny the pharmaceutical giants this, which is quite frankly an enormous payout. However, a court in New Jersey has now said that that was not an act of war, despite the fact that UK and US governments have identified Kremlin-backed attackers for that particular action. I mean, that is an absolutely enormous amount of money, and if payouts are going to be on that sort of scale, I think that the insurance companies will have to take a different approach to cyber insurance. I think a lot of cyber insurance policies were sold before the insurance industry really understood the risks associated with what they were doing. I know that they've got somewhat better in the past, but I also know that having realized the risks, there has been a move to use things like act of war to avoid payouts, seeing as they can decide, historically in the contract, they can decide whether they think it was an act of war or not, and therefore they can choose that, whether they will or won't pay out on all sorts of spurious reasons. Well, it looks like that approach isn't going to fly much further, and if it's been tested in the US courts, it'll undoubtedly get tested in other courts. And whilst US court rulings don't set a legal precedent elsewhere, they certainly give an indication, and certainly the findings will be read with interest, I think, in all sorts of other jurisdictions, especially including the UK. I would think. I wouldn't be at all surprised if cyber insurance wording changed quite significantly as a consequence of this. And again, we've spoken about this before, that we've come across organizations where senior leaders have been of the opinion that cyber insurance is an alternative to investing in cyber protection or cyber defense, which I think is absolutely the wrong approach. And I think that shows a kind of lack of understanding of where the real risks actually lie. Yeah, you get some money, but the statistics around organizations that have been hit by major cyber breaches and the impact on their ongoing viability are still, they still make pretty scary reading if you were a CEO looking into this stuff. So yeah, if it becomes harder again to get cyber insurance, maybe in fact this will do this part of the industry some good, because I think having genuine cyber insurance is probably a very useful, very good thing as risk mitigation for an organisation. But having selling policies that almost you could argue that there was never any intention of paying out on, I don't think was perhaps the insurance industry's crowning glory or whatever. But anyway, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm not sure whether there are any further appeals that can be had on this, but rumbling on, that's a really big payout. That is going to send waves across the insurance industry with regards to cyber insurance. So check your policies, make sure you're still doing your cyber basic hygiene, then you'll never need the insurance in the first place. Right, that is enough from me for today. I hope you have a good Thursday, and I'll speak to you all again tomorrow morning.